How's it going, everybody? My name is Jason. I'll be your host on this CFL talk show, Hussey's Huddle. In this video, we cover what the Derel Walker signing means for the Edmonton football team going forward in terms of their off-season plans and what that team will look like in 2021. But quickly before we get started, if you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is just by hitting that like button and subscribing to Hussey's Huddle for more CFL content just like this. With that said, let's go talk about the Edmonton not named football team. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with Derel Walker, I'll give you a bit of info about his career and history in the CFL. He's played in the CFL for 5 seasons. His first 4 of which started in 2015, were played with the Edmonton football team. As CFL players often do, he changed teams in 2019, signing a 1-year contract with the Toronto Argonauts, which was among the richest for a receiver in recent memory. After that 1-year deal, he was expected to be among the highest sought-after free agents in the 2020 CFL offseason, but to everyone's surprise in CFL circles, he remained unsigned. This was probably due to the fact that he was due for a little bit of a salary reduction given the amount that he was making on that 1-year contract with Toronto, and he didn't end up signing with the team for the entire year. Now, it's impossible to say whether he would have signed with the team for the 2020 season had it happened, but it didn't. And now he didn't miss any time with the CFL. Goes back to Edmonton, signs a 1-year deal where it all began for him. Despite the fact that this is an expensive signing for the Edmonton football team, this is a very fascinating addition because what Derel Walker brings is excitement, and not many players in the CFL today bring the excitement level as a receiver that Derel Walker does, because a lot of these receivers in the CFL, they do their damage usually in the short range of the field, but not Walker. He's an absolute home run hitter. And I'm really excited to see what Derel Walker brings to this Edmonton offense. When Walker was in the CFL in 2019 with the Argos, despite the team being among the worst in the CFL, he was among the league's most explosive playmakers in terms of yards per catch and just big plays in general. He also knows how to get to the end zone. He's just a very explosive playmaker, one of the best deep threats of any receiver in the league. I would venture he's maybe the second best deep threat in the league behind Saskatchewan receiver Shaq Evans. And I'm just really excited to see how he meshes with Trevor Harris, who's more of the traditional short-range precision passing kind of quarterback, and whether this turns him into more of a downfield thrower. And this is all fine and dandy, and everything from an excitement standpoint, this is very exciting for Edmonton. A lot of positive energy around the team, new name change coming up. But I think these signings, Walker combined with other big free agent signing, Derek Dennis, is going to hurt their potential flexibility going into this free agency period. So to show you what I mean, let's just walk through Edmonton's projected free agents that they stand to lose potentially come February. At the top of the list, you have to have a conversation about wide receiver Greg Ellingson. So Ellingson and Harris have this deep connection going back 5 years, as they've been among the CFL's best wide receiver quarterback duos over the last half decade. And I love Ellingson as a player, and I think his skill set is just so conducive to what Harris does well. And replacing that, considering most of this receiving core is already almost set in stone, I think all their starters now with Derel Walker signing, effectively replacing Ellingson, means that Ellingson is going to hit the market and they're going to move it on in a different direction. Losing Ellingson, I'm not too sure is a net benefit when you switch Walker out for Ellingson, considering what Ellingson has brought to the table as a security blanket for Trevor Harris over these last 5 years. Then you go along the offensive line, and they do re-sign Colin Kelly, who I pointed out as an underrated free agent for them in my video a few weeks ago. But they do stand to lose guard Matt O'Donnell, who's been with the team for over half a decade and has played at an extremely high level, has been named an all-star a couple times. He's just such a sturdy presence for them at that right guard position, combined with the fact that he's also a Canadian and one of Edmonton's core starters. And this is a major dilemma for Edmonton in terms of whether they want to devote resources to that position in order to maintain an offensive line that was clearly the best offensive line in the CFL in 2019. I would like Edmonton to bring him back, but I don't know if they're going to be able to prioritize that, or they will have to find a cheaper option, because O'Donnell's going to have a big market coming up here in 2021 free agency if he hits the market. And then my biggest concern with this roster comes on the defensive side, because on offense, I think this team looks absolutely loaded. Franchise quarterback, a star-studded receiving group that I think is probably the best in the league, all things considered. But on defense, I don't trust this secondary, and I trust it even less now than I did before, because I don't think they're going to be able to retain star defensive lineman Armando Sewell. And Sewell, this may be a bit controversial in CFL circles, but hot take here, I think Sewell's the best defensive lineman in the entire CFL. I just think he's just so impactful. He's kind of like our Aaron Donald up here in Canada. There's so much stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. And Edmonton, dominant defensive line in 2019 with Mike Moore and Kwaku Boateng and Sewell. Those three guys, they wreaked havoc on the quarterback, and they let the defensive backs who, they made their mistakes. They made so many mistakes, but because of that defensive line's pressure, they were able to get a lot of interceptions, create a lot of takeaways. I think Sewell's presence, he takes a lot of the attention of the offensive lines. So Boateng and Mike Moore can get after the quarterback. Not having Sewell for this group is going to be absolutely huge. If they can't find a way to retain Armando Sewell, I think this defense is due to take a major step back, and I just don't think there's enough proven CFL talent in this Edmonton secondary to trust this defense to be a league average unit. I think this secondary is the most unproven group in the entire CFL as it stands right now. Barring any big free agent signings, we'll have to see. But Edmonton's direction that they're going in with the Derel Walker move and the Derek Dennis move, I don't think that they're going to have the resources to bring back a player of Sewell's caliber who's probably going to be still, despite the salary structure changing the CFL, I still think he's going to be among the highest paid defensive players, if not players in general, in the CFL next season, because he's just so proven. He's been with the organization for such a long time. He's the heart and soul of this group, and I would do everything. He's the free agent to re-sign out of all these guys I've talked about in that Edmonton still could lose here in free agency. He's at the top of the list, and it's not even close in my mind. Anyway, the main point is, I think Edmonton adds a lot of excitement value to this team by bringing in Derel Walker, an explosion level on offense. I think they're just going to be such an interesting team to watch. But I also think they're also going to be an interesting team to watch because I think they're going to be giving up a lot of points on a weekly basis too, given this current roster. And I don't necessarily think that they're big name guys. Obviously, with the CFL not releasing their salary cap numbers in terms of how much individual players are making, we can never know exactly how much salary cap space or how much teams are going to spend on their players. But we all know this offseason that money is so tight in the CFL, and that if Edmonton's already made a lot of these signings already, it's not hard to imagine that there's not a lot left over for all these other free agents. But that's going to do it for me. I'd like to hear everybody's thoughts in the comment section below. If you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is just by hitting that like button and subscribing to Hussey's Huddle for more CFL content just like this. Once again, my name is Jason. I'd like to thank you guys all for watching. See you next time. Peace.